Okay, forks are back on, and I was working on bleeding the brakes, and I bought that Motion Pro Quick Mini Bleeder, right? It's supposed to have a check valve in it, so all you have to do is crack the Zerk fitting, and you can just basically do it with one hand. So the check valve only allows air and fluid to pass through one direction. So when the valve's open, air does not get back into the system. So I'm sitting here and I'm messing with this thing and I'm messing with this thing, and it's not priming, and I can't get any fluid down through the lines, and I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, did I put one of the seals in the calipers wrong? And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna start at the top. I'm gonna make sure that there's fluid coming out of the reservoir. And wouldn't you know it, so this thing came from the factory put together with the hose on it. And look, there's a fucking cap on the end of that. Can you believe this shit? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull that cap off and try not to get brake fluid all over my freaking bike. And then see if we can successfully bleed these brakes. Okay, we are just about to change the spring on the shock. Just got the rear shock out of the swing arm. Pretty simple process. First time I've actually removed the shock, so of all my years riding, it's the first time I've ever done this. It wasn't too bad. You remove the tire, take out the bolt at the top of the shock, and then the lowering plates or lowering links and the dog bone. You only need to undo one part of the dog bone. So you take out the bottom 3 bolts that connect to these plates, pull them out. Make sure your bike, the back wheel is unsupported, because the swing arm's got to have room to drop down. And once you get it, the mounting brackets off, just let the swing arm come all the way down and the shock pulls right out the top. Pretty simple. Okay, so here we have our shock. And in order to get this spring off, we're gonna have to compress this spring. I briefly watched a video on how to do it. I've never done it, so I'm probably gonna watch another video again right quick, and then we'll get to it. All right, first and foremost, thank you to my buddy Nico Palmer for allowing me to borrow his spring compressor. The clamps that I was trying to use yesterday just wasn't getting it done, and I went ahead and bought one. I was looking at this Motion Pro one, and I might actually purchase this one instead of the other one that I got. We'll see once I start using it. Just because I have a lot of Motion Pro tools and I like their stuff. But anyways, so we're gonna get to changing this spring. So essentially what happens here is the shock sits in the compressor like this. So the pin fits through the top of the shock mount. The clamps on the bottom of this compressor clamp around the bottom ring here. And essentially you just twist it and it compresses the spring, pulls the spring down. This little clip on top, so it's a retaining clip, so you basically have to compress the spring enough to get this clip out of here. And once that's out, and then the cap and everything can pull off, and they can pull the spring off, apply the new spring, and essentially just put it back on the same way. Compress it back in the compressor, put the clip back in, and then release the tension, and then we're good. Put the spring back in the bike. So that's what we're about to do. I'm not going to go through the process of showing you how to reinstall the spring and the rear wheel and all that. It's really a pretty simple thing. As long as you unload the rear wheel and just take the rear wheel off and then just unbolt those 2 bolts that hold on the lower brackets, and then the top bolt for the shock mount, and then just pull the spring out through the hole in the top. It's pretty easy. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna get at it, and then we'll see in a few. Okay, so we got our spring compressed, and as you can see now, we've got the clearance to be able to remove that retaining clip. So, oh, it spins. Oh, there's a nut in there. So I've got to get it higher than that nut that's inside of there. So a few more cranks on this, and then we'll get her off. All right, guys. We got enough compression on it now to slip that retaining clip out. Slip that out. And then the rest of this stuff can just slide right off when we take the tension off the spring. All right, and there you have it. Old spring removed. I'm gonna go ahead and install the new spring, and we'll get this back on the bike.